My name is Ron Winegar, and I have been a police officer since 1993 and have kind of grown up in the profession. I have an older brother who is also a police officer that retired last fall from the sheriff's office in Ada County, and I've had many opportunities in my career to experience some really awesome and wonderful and satisfying things, and also had the opportunity to experience some not so great things. And I think that's the way it is for everyone in this profession, everyone that's a first responder. We have that front row seat to the greatest show on earth, and we also have the front row seat to some of the most tragic and traumatic events on earth, and we see just the toughest times in people's lives, and we experience some of the most difficult things that we've ever seen and done, and we also witness other people go through those things as well. So, you know, it's all pretty exciting when you start in this career or as a first responder, regardless of whether that's police or fire or paramedics, dispatch, and we all come into it, I think, fairly idealistic, and with the idea of we're going to help people and make a difference and do something noble and all of those things. That's the way I think most of us start out in our career, at least everybody that I've seen as they come into it pretty idealistic. And I noticed over the years, when I'd been on long enough to really pay attention, I guess, and start seeing there were people that retired from the career. And some of those people walked out after 20, 25, 30 years, whatever it would be, and they remained that idealistic, helpful, positive attitude, just like the day they walked in the career. And then I watched as other people left the career and retired bitter and angry and just hating people and hating life and just really miserable human beings. And I couldn't help but start to think, what in the world happens to some people along the way in that career that causes them to literally change from that helpful, positive, idealistic person to the exact opposite of that. And I felt like I have to do something, or we have to figure it out. Not just me, but we as a profession have to figure out what it is that happens to people along the way in this career that causes those changes to happen. And not only looking at people that retire, but you can't help but notice people that just flame out somewhere along the way, and marriages fail, and substance abuse happens, and choices take place that cause folks to not even be able to finish the career. And you see that as well, and you think there's got to be something here. So I guess I come to that realization after not only working in the career, but just observing what's going on around me as others work in the career. And I have my own experiences, not any different than anybody else's, but I look back at some things that probably made a pretty big impact in my life. And I think about them, and, you know, early on being a party to and witness of, and you know, very close to some child homicides and some really tragic events involving kids, and me having young children at the same time in my life. Those hit pretty close to home. And then when I had been on just not even 4 years, had an incident that I was involved with where a fellow officer was killed on a traffic stop, and Mark Stahl was that officer, and he's the only Boise police officer killed in the line of duty in the history of the department since the city was formed in 1896. And so being very closely involved in that event, and having been shot and wounded in that same event, it was a life-changing experience. Excuse me, for me. And I think it was a life-changing experience for a lot of people. And in that time in the department was a rough go for us. As I went through that experience and that incident, the shooting happened, and I recognized obviously what was happening, and had one of those oh crap moments, like I can't believe this is happening, and this isn't the way it's supposed to go down. And I just remember having experienced that shooting, burning, white hot pain as the bullet went through my body, and the bullet went through my lower abdomen and through my right hip and struck the sciatic nerve as it went through, and so it felt like a lightning bolt went down my right leg and just blew my right foot off. It felt like it had exploded. As I fell backwards on the pavement, I remember laying there. It's the middle of the night and it's dark and it was a little chilly, and I was laying there and I was thinking to myself that this is not supposed to be how my life ends. And as I lay there in pain, and it was a pretty chaotic scene, and I could see people all around me. I could see feet, and I could see legs, and I could see somebody laying on the pavement off to my right. And I still to this day don't know if it was Mark that was laying there, or if it was one of the two suspects that were also killed in that gun battle. But as I laid there amidst that chaos and feeling that pain, I just immediately thought, I'm gonna die. And I've never felt a pain that was so exquisite, never felt anything that hurt that bad in my life. And I remember probably all happening in a split second. It seemed to go really, really fast, but in that situation, it seems like a lot of thoughts flood through your mind. My first being, I'm gonna die, and then my second thought being, this really hurts, and if it hurts this bad, it means that I was not hit in the vest, because this is real pain. It's not like it just got, shot in the vest and it was going to save me. And so I thought, well, if I didn't get hit in the vest, then I'm probably going to live, because the vest is going to protect me from anything that's going to kill me. Somewhat erroneously, obviously, thought process. But the moment I thought, I'm not going to die, this hurts too bad, I'm probably not going to die, then I started to realize that I couldn't move my legs, and I thought, I'm probably shot in the spine, and I'm probably going to be paralyzed the rest of my life. All of these thoughts, incorrect, but they're what went through my head. And so I'm just laying there going from 1 second to the next and thinking I'm going to die, then I'm not going to die, then I'm going to be paralyzed, and not really knowing what the end result was going to be. I had no idea what that would entail. But over the next few minutes, obviously help arrived, and I'm so grateful to the other first responders, not just my fellow officers on the scene there, but the firefighters and the paramedics that showed up and ended up treating and helping us and working on Mark and taking us both to the hospital. And as we're laying there in that trauma room at the time, and they were working on Mark and trying desperately to save his life. And I remember it's very surreal to think about that, but I remember as it became evident that he was not going to make it and that he had passed away, and just really not having an emotional reaction to that at the time, but that emotional reaction would come several days later for me, as I was able to actually attend his funeral. And that was an impactful time, certainly in a lot of people's lives in the Valley, but I think about Mark's family and the sacrifice that they made and the impact that his life had on them and his death had on them. And then going forward through the next many weeks and months, physically recovering and going through physical therapy and doing all the things that I did, and then dealing with what turned out to be chronic pain from that nerve damage of the bullet striking the sciatic nerve, and ultimately dealing with just shooting, burning pain, hitting, recurring every minute or two, and going from not being able to sleep to just being in pain. And that chronic pain, it gives me, I guess, an understanding and an empathy for people who deal with that pain, regardless of what the cause is. Chronic pain can just suck the life out of you. And over the next several months, up to a year or so, in dealing with that and trying every treatment they could figure out, and everything known to man at the time, I think, was tried on me, and not really getting any relief. And one night in particular, I remember being at home, and my entire family was there, my wife and 2 little kids, and they were all asleep, and it's the middle of the night. And I remember just going from the couch to the chair, to the bed, to the floor, to the, you name it, trying to get comfortable to sleep, and that pain would just keep hitting every minute or two, and not being able to sleep, and just literally trying to pull my own hair out of my head, and having a conversation with myself, and then with God, to say, I don't think I can make it. If something doesn't give, if something doesn't change, if I don't get some relief somehow, I can't do it. I can't live like this anymore. And it wasn't too long after that they tried it was somewhat experimental at the time, but a spinal cord stimulator. I was able to have a spinal cord stimulator implanted in my back, and it delivered an electric shock down the spinal cord to try to interrupt the pain signals from the damaged nerve before it reached the brain. And it didn't really make a lot of sense to me at the time, but they explained it, and I was like, yep, great, I'll try anything. And it was able to provide some relief, and just kind of tone that severe pain down enough that I could survive and get through. And so for the next several years, that really did provide some of that relief. And all of that was paid for by workers' compensation. And I was grateful that I didn't have to deal with a big load of medical bills on top of everything else. And so that was a blessing in my life, for sure, to have that medical care taken care of and paid for by the workers' compensation, and not having to struggle with that. And then I look at, as I translate and transition later in life, and I see all of the issues that first responders go through in relation to the stuff that we see and the trauma that we experience. And not all of it's physical, clearly. There's a lot of mental anguish and trauma that first responders experience, and grateful that, fast forward 23 years almost, that some of those post-traumatic stress injuries, those mental traumas that we experience, are now actually covered by workers' comp, and some help is available for those injuries as well. So that gratitude is there as well right now, and I know it's been a long time coming, but I think it's a helpful thing, and a pretty big thing for those of us who are in this profession, regardless of what it is. First responders do experience those types of injuries as well as the physical ones. And so I guess my way of dealing with everything, and one of the things that has truly helped me over the years, is it created a passion in me to try and help those others. And as I mentioned before, watching people change in their careers based on the traumatic events that they experience, and some of the things that they see and do, it just makes me really want to help in some way. And so I've had the opportunity to be involved in so many different things that have, I think, made a difference for others, but have also made a difference for me as I've studied and learned and really dug into critical incident stress and stress management in general, and especially as it relates to first responders. I've had the opportunity to really take advantage of training and education that helps me make sense of it, and then also helps with others. And so many years ago, we started a peer support team within our own department, our agency, and ultimately through that experience and seeing how helpful and beneficial it has been for some people in the department, had the opportunity to also help other agencies around us do the same thing, and provide some training as I received that education and training, and ultimately got involved in a couple of different organizations, and doing critical incident stress management, as well as resiliency training through the FBI National Academy Associates. I've been able to just travel in many places in the United States and see that the the issues are very much the same regardless of where you work and where you live. There's nothing unique about this part of the country as it relates to these types of issues. Everybody has them, but it's been very rewarding for me to see local agencies around us begin those peer support programs and critical incident stress management programs, and I've had such wonderful opportunities to work with folks in the Ada County Sheriff's Office, the Nampa Police Department, the Nampa Fire Department, the Meridian Police Department, Canyon County Paramedics, Ada County Paramedics, just all over the valley and even further out throughout the state of Idaho. And it's just been very rewarding to try and impact, going back to the very beginning again, those people who come into this profession with the greatest of intentions and the ability and desire to help people and help keep them on track and keep that thin blue line that we talk about healthy and able to be that thread that helps weave our society together. The fabric of our society is fractured, and today there's no doubt we're in a tough time, especially as it relates to law enforcement. This is a very interesting and tough time and a climate in the country. We are very fortunate to have the support that we have here in Idaho and the good people of our community, but there are also a lot of those who would say that, you know, law enforcement isn't a noble profession and it isn't good, and I have to stand up and say that is absolutely wrong. This is one of the most noble professions that I am aware of, and I am grateful to and proud of the fact that I am a police officer, and I've had the opportunity to serve in a number of different areas, a number of different units and teams and specialties, and a number of different ranks within our agency. And every one of those opportunities has given me what I need to continue, and has also given me opportunities to help others, which is also what makes me tick sometimes. So I am very honored to be a part of this profession. I'm very honored to be a first responder, and I believe, because I see it every day, there are men and women throughout this country and throughout the world that lay their lives on the line and sacrifice and give everything they've got to the profession. And it's up to us to take care of each other and take care of them so that they can indeed enjoy the fruits of their labors and get the satisfaction they need out of the work that they do. And someday, if they are fortunate, as I am so fortunate to be nearing retirement, I still have ways to go, but when they retire, they can enjoy the rest that they need and want, and look back on a healthy and happy career that they're proud of. We've come a long ways in the last 27 years that I've been involved in the profession, and we have grown a lot, but there is still, no matter how hard we try, there is still a stigma attached to asking for help, for reaching out for assistance. We want to be tough and we want to be strong because we have to be strong for so many people every day and every night when we're out there on the job. We are the people who respond to those calls for service. So when somebody needs help and they are frightened, they are scared, they're in the middle of a terrible situation. As recently as yesterday, we had a critical incident in the valley where police responded to a very dangerous situation and were expected to deal with it and protect innocent people from harm. And day in and day out, night in and night out, first responders are stepping up to the call for service and are willing to put themselves in harm's way and in danger. And with that, it takes a toll. There is no doubt that responding to critical incidents, as well as all the other incidents that we respond to, takes a toll, and it's a burden. And at any given point in someone's career, it might be too much. It might overwhelm our coping mechanisms that normally work for us to deal with stuff, and it's okay. it's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to need help. It's okay to take a step back and say, that one was a little too much for me right now. I think I might need a shoulder to lean on. And so we have to get past the stigma that says we can't be vulnerable, that we can't be weak. I don't think it's really weakness, but we automatically think it is, that we're weak if we ask for help. And had to move a piano recently, and guess what? I couldn't do it by myself. We needed a little help. It was just a little too much. And anybody that's moved a piano probably knows that it's probably not a one-man job or a one-woman job. Sometimes it takes a little more. Just like having an injury, whether it's physical or mental, causes us to need to ask for help, to go for assistance. And it's no different than breaking your leg or spraining your wrist. It's no big deal to go to the doctor for some treatment when we have an injury. And the same has got to be true for mental injury and for stress injuries that happen throughout our career. Everybody has them. I don't know any officer that's gone 25 or 30 years without a physical injury in their career. Everybody gets hurt. Everybody gets banged up. Everybody breaks something or sprains something or, has issues. And the same has got to be true for the mental side of things. But for so many years, we have pushed back and not sought treatment for those things. And we have to get better. We have gotten better. We have to continue to get better. And agencies have a responsibility. If you're a leader of an agency, you have a responsibility to take care of the people who work in your agency. And if you don't fulfill that responsibility, you're letting people down. And I know nobody in this profession wants to let their coworkers down. If you're a member of the public, I also think you have a responsibility to take care of those who have served your community. And that goes for military veterans as well as first responders and those who put themselves in harm's way, so that the rest of us can sleep safely at night, knowing that they are out there taking care of those situations that require intervention. I'm grateful for the support and the help that I have received, and it's just my overwhelming desire to be able to reach out and help others to get what they need so that they can remain intact and ready to go and protect and serve and do this job all over again tomorrow. And it's a privilege and an honor.